walking through a ghost town. Y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You ain't lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page. But we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay. Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay. Red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is a beautiful Monday morning. Welcome to the Wire to Wire Coffee and Sports podcast. I'm here with the man himself, the NFL genius. How are you doing this Monday morning, brother?
Bro, I'm fired up. I'm EA Sports, man. This is one of my favorite times of the year. Thursday, I literally take off of work Thursday, Friday. I just texted my boss. I said, hey, I'm just going to let you know I will not be on the conference call at 2:30 on Thursday. On Thursday, me and a couple of my buddies, we go over to a friend of mine's house. He has 3 TVs set up in the living room, and it is March Madness all day. Fired up, baby.
Yeah, we just came off of Selection Sunday. We're going to get to that. But I want to start with one of the biggest news that happened. Mr. Ja'Marr Chase, 4 years, $161 million extension with $112 million guaranteed. And T. Higgins is the highest paid number 2 receiver ever. He got a 4 years, $115 million extension. Chase is now the highest now paid QB in the league. Higgins is that. So the Bengals are on the hook for Mr. Burrow, who's making $275 million. Ja'Marr Chase making $161 and now $115 million. How you feel about this for the Bengals moving forward with their franchise?
Bro, I feel the same way that any normal human being should feel about this. Like, I think that this is such a terrible decision. It's so backwards. It's buying Lamborghini. It's buying a Lamborghini and putting bicycle tires on it. Like, I am a true – look at some of the most successful franchises in the NFL. I want you to tell me what they all have in common. And to me, they all have in common that they have offensive and defensive lines, that they have defenses that can control the clock or can slow teams down. They have offensive lines that can control the clock. I think that this Bengals team thinks they're going to be the Warriors. But the Warriors have defense, right? Like, I don't know. I'm not a fan of what Cincinnati's doing by paying Ja'Marr Chase, by paying T. Higgins. Nope.
You know what I think, man? I think everybody from Wire to Wire Network should go lace them up and go help them out. Let's go get a free paycheck, man, because they're not gonna be able to pay anybody else. They're not gonna be able to get a defense. God awful line. I hope they do something about it, man. This is not something you want. This is not a good trend that you want to start with a team. You know, I respect people like, you know, who take what they can so their team can thrive. I'm not with this. I want to be the highest paid. If you got a championship already, get your money. You know, if you don't want to win no more, then cool after that. But your team got there once, and y'all didn't get there again. Y'all still fighting Mahomes. You're still fighting Josh Allen. You're still fighting Lamar Jackson to get there. But you want to go get all this money to do what with it? Lose? Is that what we doing in the NFL now? We just want to be the biggest losers? Myles Garrett? Oh, I want to leave so bad. I want to, team getting smacked. Now look at him. Hey, for a few dollars, I'll stay. Yes, sir. I'm here. But
ain't that crazy though? Like Myles Garrett, and listen, I don't think Myles Garrett really had a choice. I think that his choice was made for him. The Browns are like, we're not going to trade you. So do you want him? You want to make $40 million? But that's what I think happened with Myles Garrett. But with the situation in Cincinnati, it's so controllable. You knew you were going to have to pay Jamar Chase. Why not get ahead of the extension market before the Browns pay Myles Garrett? They told Jamar Chase, we're going to make you the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. And then Myles Garrett gets a $40 million contract. So the Bengals are like, all right, it was like Price is Right. They're like, $40 million in one? You know they didn't want to pay him $40 million a year.
Oh, that's bad, man. Hey, I'm glad the Eagles got ahead of it because it could have been bad for us if we ain't paid Saquon by now. It would have looked real bad.
Right?
But, moving on, DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons had words on Twitter over the weekend. Did you see about that, Gene?
No, I didn't. Let me know about it. I'm looking it up right now.
Tank had an interview in Seattle. He said, Dallas is my home, but I know for sure I'm not going to win the Super Bowl there. And
I saw that.
And Parsons said he retweeted the interview. He said, "This is what rejection and envy looks like. This some clown-ish." Tank responded, said, "Calling me a clown won't change the fact that I told the truth. Maybe if you spent less time tweeting and more time winning, I wouldn't have left."
Oh my God.
So at this point, what does this say about the Cowboys franchise and culture at this point?
I mean, it says everything about the culture. You just nailed it. It's a culture problem. It's been a culture problem in Dallas. It's always been a culture problem in Dallas. Dallas has had the same culture problem when they brought in Randy Gregory. The same culture problem for the last 10 years. They don't care if you've beaten up a woman. They're going to bring you in, and if they think you can help win football games. Culture matters. Micah Parsons' Twitter fingers are a problem on that team. And I agree with DeMarcus Lawrence, right? Like, when people get on Twitter, like Micah Parsons says some dumb stuff. Like, I would be really willing to, look into Penn State's grading system to see how this man was academically eligible to play for Penn State. Like, how many dumb things this man will say on Twitter? You remember the Eagles beat them 41-6, whatever it was, like that blowout? Yeah, like outside the scoreboard, it was a real close game. Take away the scoreboard. Wait, what? That's like me losing 20 to nothing in softball and being like, well, outside of the scoreboard, I mean, we play well.
If you look at it back when we did score, and like those games where somebody started scoring in the fourth quarter because team got their third and fourth string players. It was a close game. But I don't like it. Micah just need to chill out. I think he's next on the list to get paid, isn't he? So
he's supposed to be. If the Cowboys, it sounds so crazy me saying this because he's such a great athlete, but the Cowboys were smart. They probably wouldn't pay him.
You wouldn't pay Micah?
No, not at this point, because what's Micah going to ask for, right? What's he going to ask for? 40.2 million. That's what he's going to do.
I don't know.
You're going to give him 40.2 million a year?
I think he's going to ask for 40.3, something north of that. I mean, why not? You letting Jamar Chase get 40.2. I'm averaging double-digit sacks a year, and I'm still young, But I don't understand it. How you feel about Micah Becton agreed to a 2-year deal with the Chargers? The Chargers are building up, man. Do you think they're going to be a real contender this year?
Absolutely. And, he agreed to that deal with the Chargers to be a guard, which is really what I was looking forward to understand what he agreed to or not. Because they have they got Rashawn Slater, and then they have one of my favorite prospects coming out of the draft. I still need to get the shirts done. I came up with this name, and I'm telling you right now, if you see it on TV, I'm telling you, it started with me. Control, Alt, Delete with Joe Alt. He controls them at the line of scrimmage, and he deletes them. I think that them getting Mekhi Becton to solidify the interior of their line, I said this on the Wire to Wire post show. I'm saying it now. The Los Angeles Chargers are going to the Super Bowl. I just want to be clear. The Los Angeles, remember when Jim Harbaugh said after that playoff game, after Justin Herbert looked terrible in another playoff game? And I don't think there's been a more critical person on this network than me of Justin Herbert. Buy stock low in Justin Herbert. Buy stock low in Justin Herbert. That team is going to the Super Bowl for the AFC this year. The Chargers. Book it.
Yeah, Harbaugh has done a very good job. He made Justin Herbert very efficient by lowering his throwing attempts, and he became very efficient along with that run game, which they added a few running backs back there. Now they're gonna do really well with that because Harbaugh. Do you see a Harbaugh Bowl in the AFC happening? I remember.
I think that would be a lot of fun, right? I think that would be a lot of fun. I don't know. If we see a Harbaugh Bowl or not, but I'll say this: I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch them compete. And I think the Chargers, the Ravens. There's a lot of good teams in the AFC, but I think the Chargers and the Ravens are two of the top 5.
So, are you seeing the Chiefs possibly going back?
I said that, and I
got
a lot of hate for it. I'm not counting Mahomes out, but I want you to do me a favor and look at the Super Bowl runner-up for the last how many years, and I want you to tell me how often they fall up flat the next year. And here, I can give it to you. Like it's in my head already. Last year was the San Francisco 49ers. How they do this year?
It was trash.
Year before, it was the Philadelphia Eagles. How did they do last year?
We was bad last year. We was bad.
Lost in the first round of playoffs, right?
We was bad.
So, like, when you can go back further and further and further and further, Super Bowl runner-ups, they constantly fall off the wagon. Like they call it a Super Bowl letdown. And I think that you'll have that letdown with the Chiefs this year. I think they'll take a step back, but I don't think it's what's the right way to put it? I don't think it's going to be like a forever letdown. I think it could be a 1-year letdown, maybe right back 2 years from now. But I don't like the way the Chiefs are currently constructed under the salary cap.
How you feel about the Eagles, man, acquiring all them picks for 2026?
The Eagles have done really good in the draft, Carmike. They've done very well in drafting players. I feel like the Philadelphia Eagles are understanding that they're going to have to pay Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, and then in a couple more years after that, you have Quinyon Mitchell, you have Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship's up for extension soon. Jordan Mailata is up for an extension in 2 years. Landon Dickerson's up for an extension next year. There's a lot of guys you have to pay on that team. Jordan Davis is up for an extension next year.
They still got some time, but I feel like it was a real good power move by Howie to acquire all these 2026 picks, man. I didn't realize that was, the underlying thing with the Mekhi Beckham trade. There was a condition that, with this guy that Howie got like, four picks with this dude, trading them off?
No, he got one with him, but he got a ton of conditional picks. Like, so the Eagles have they call them compensatory picks. The Eagles have gotten compensatory picks for Milton Williams. They got it for Mekhi Becton. When they lose a player, like, they structure it perfectly to where they get comped picks for them. So they're getting 4th rounders back. They're getting 5th rounders back for these guys. And you can parlay those 4th and 5th rounders into higher picks. What the Eagles did was they parlayed a 5th round pick to move up to get Cooper DeJean last year with Washington. So, like, they used those picks to be able to be selectively aggressive in the draft.
Moving on to Mr. Cooper Kupp. He is going home to where he played college ball. 3 years, $45 million with the Seattle Seahawks. Kupp and Darnold. Do you think Kupp has enough left to help Darnold continue his moving forward career?
I hate saying this, man, because I really like Cooper Kupp. He's washed, bro. He's washed.
Now, is he washed, or did just Puka Nacua just outshine him at that point?
He's washed. And I hate doing that to him. But listen, this is my opinion. Everyone has an opinion. I think Cooper I think Cooper Kupp's washed.
You think he got nothing left?
No,
Come on, man.
I don't. Do you think Cooper Kupp, like, what do you, all right, so let me ask you a question real quick. 17 game season. How many games do you think Cooper Kupp plays next year?
Cooper Kupp, he probably going to play possible 10. I'll give you 10.
And if he plays 10 games, how many receiving yards do you think he has?
If he plays 10 games, he's going to have somewhere around 700-800, probably.
700-800. So
ain't that what he did last year? Around like that? 700-800.
Let me see what he had last year. I see. I think that if they knew they were getting 10 games for $700, I don't think they would have signed him. No. So
I mean, he got 12 games, started 11, 67 receptions, 710 receiving yards, and 6 touchdowns.
All right. So outside of and this sounds so terrible. I like Cooper Kupp, but outside of the outlier season in 2021, I want to read you Cooper Kupp. I want to read it to you out loud. I need you to hear it. All right, so 2021, we all remember that season. 17 games played, 145 receptions, 1,947 yards, 16 touchdowns. That's a great year, right? Last year, 12 games, 67 receptions, 700 yards. 2023, 12 games, 59 receptions, 700 yards. 2022, 9 games, 75 receptions, 800 yards. 2020, 92 receptions, 974 yards. 2019, 94 receptions, 1,100 yards. 2018, 40 receptions, 566. I won't go into his rookie year. My point being is, do you really think that production is worth $15 million a year? And if you do, let me ask you another question. Do you think he's $5 million? You think he's on the same level as Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith? Because that's essentially what they're paying him to be.
Cooper Kupp, I mean, I think they're paying him because of the experience. He was a Triple Crown guy at one point, a few years back. I mean, you got some young receivers on Seattle. I don't think that you can pay younger guys to do it well, but you can also pay a more experienced guy to teach the younger guys.
So if that's what then hire a coach. Go get Brian Hartline from Ohio State $10 million a year. And it won't count against your salary cap. Like, do you know what Brian Hartline's done at Ohio State? Like the way he's developed all these wide receivers that are coming in the league. Like, I mean, it's incredible.
Is it not the same way that even the Ravens did it? They hired on Odell Beckham, knowing he's cooked, right, to teach Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is very good. The only problem Zay Flowers, he can't stay healthy now. He had a great run. My man made a rookie mistake, but Zay Flowers played big for the Ravens, and now they brought in another veteran receiver, D-Hop. How you feel about the Ravens picking up D-Hop? Is that wasted money?
I hate it. 100% wasted money. So let me ask you a question. What do you think now is and maybe I'm crazy. I've had this debate with Cottrell and Shalley recently because they think I underrate Drake London. I think Drake London is just a jag, right? I think he's just another guy. I don't think he's anything special. But my point being is, and the reason I bring that up is, do you think 1,000 yards in this passing NFL in a 17-game season is really as impressive as it was in 2004? Like, do you think that's impressive anymore? Zay Flowers, you said Zay Flowers had a great year, right? You said great year. That's what you said.
He was a young boy. He had a good year for him being a young, up-and-coming receiver, but he
2 years less than he's averaging less than $1,000 a year. he played 16 games in 2023, 17 games in 2024. You could tell me he got hurt, like he played hampered. He played 33 out of a possible 34 games. Okay? And he's averaging less than 1,000 yards per year. I'm not saying Zay Flowers isn't good. What I'm saying is, are they special or are they not just another guy?
I don't know. I think he's slated to be on the realm of being one of those good short receivers. Drake, he's been in the league for a little minute, so I don't know. I don't know about Drake, man.
I was listening to Pick a Side, and I love Pick a Side. You know Pick a Side podcast? With Joe and them boys. They're good podcasts, right? But they were talking about start 3, bench 5. And they started Drake London over Smitty, over Waddle, over I'm serious. Terry McLaurin
Over Smitty?
over Smitty, Waddle, and Terry
Man,
McLaurin.
bro, there's no way.
I'm not kidding.
There's no way. Drake London?
Yes,
Yup.
Drake London, who
No.
had his career year this year of 1,200 yards. Good for Drake London. I just don't like. Do you think
Falcons didn't do nothing. Most of the time he was getting yards, game was over.
Hey, look, I'm not here to judge anyone. I just don't think he's that good. I think he's okay. Like you look at these guys in the league. Would you rather for the next 5 years? Would you rather have Drake London or Brian Thomas Jr.?
I'll probably go Brian Thomas. I like Brian
Facts.
Thomas.
I would go. That's what I'm trying to.
I like Brian
Bro,
Thomas.
there's so many guys for the next 5 years. I would take over Drake London. Would you rather have Drake London or Zay Flowers? Next 5 years.
I'm gonna go Zay. I like Zay.
Do you see how easy that is?
Zay makes big plays, man, for them. Even though his touches was limited because of Mark Andrews, but Zay he can hold his own, man, out there. But that's just me, you know what I'm saying?
There's a lot of them, though, right? There's a lot of what does Drake London do that's elite? He's Mike Evans light. That's what he is. He's a lighter version of Mike Evans, and Mike Evans is an absolute tactician with routes, great jump ball guy with better hands. So if Mike Evans is a Hall of Fame receiver, an elite receiver, like you got basically, Mike Evans 0.5.
Speaking of Falcons, while we're here, Kirk Cousins is about to be one of the highest paid backups, man. Do you think that was a smart move for the Falcons to keep Kirk Cousins around?
Carmike, me and you could do a better job than the Falcons front office has done for like 5 years. I'm so dead serious. Like, what is the Falcons front office is they gotta be the worst front office in football. And I say that about a lot of teams. Yeah. Okay, let me ask you a question real quick. Was Kyle Pitts not the worst draft pick in his entire draft? He went 3rd or 4th overall.
I think he was the worst.
Well, Trey Lance is probably worse. He went 3rd.
Trey Lance was absolutely trash.
So Kyle Pitts has been terrible for them, right? Terrible.
He's been okay. He ain't been living up to the hype. I'll tell you that. He ain't living.
He was supposed to be a generational tight end. He was taken 4th overall. He's terrible. He's awful. So they used top 10 picks on Kyle Pitts, on Drake London, on Bijan Robinson, and on I feel like I'm missing one, but they've used top 10 picks on all these skill position players.
To be fair, Kyle Pitts did crack 1,000 his first year, but he just didn't keep elevating. He's declining for some reason.
What did he do after his first year? Help me out.
He's declining for some reason.
Help me understand. Has he had 1,000 yards in the other 3 years combined?
He has not.
1,500 total. He's got 2,600 yards in his career, 4 years. That's terrible.
It is terrible. But the answer your question, I think the worst front office is probably the Jaguars front office. They're absolutely terrible.
Well, now that they got rid of Trent Baalke, I can't say that anymore. Trent Baalke has naked pictures of someone somewhere. I mean it. Like, he has blackmail information of someone somewhere. Do you remember Trent Baalke, the same Trent Baalke that got the 49ers franchise to move on from Jim Harbaugh?
Mm.
That's the same Trent Baalke. Same guy. No, Jim Harbaugh, not a great coach. Like he went to Michigan and won a national championship, and now he's rebuilding the Los Angeles Chargers. Trent Baalke stinks.
Moving on. I didn't want to do it, but it looks like what are the 49ers doing at this point? They're letting everything go. They're having the everything must go sell at this point. And I wanted to save this for Mo. Mo can't be here, man, and I wanted to get his opinion on this. But how you feel about them? They feel like they're just trashing the franchise right now. They look like they're ready to rebuild. Pay Purdy.
And I know you understand this. Like, I know you get it, but you can't have that many bad contracts on your roster. You can't. Like, if you didn't see this coming, like the salary cap matters, right? I want to just read this out loud to you because I can pull up Spot Rack almost immediately. It's just like one of my favorite websites. But I almost want to read this out loud to you, right? Checker Fred makes $30 million. He's a $30 million cap hit. That makes a lot of sense, right? Fred Warner is the man. You're good there. George Kittle makes $22 million. Okay for a tight end. That's fine. Trent Williams makes $21 million. He's 37 years old. Nick Bosa makes $20 million. Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, and now you got to pay. Now you got to pay Brock Purdy. Now you got to pay Brock Purdy. Christian McCaffrey is $23 million of dead cap, and I don't know if he plays again. Javon Hargrave just took a $25 million dead cap hit for their franchise. He's not on the roster anymore. He's not on the roster anymore. Look at their dead cap. It's wild.
It is wild.
They made bad decisions with their money. How you extend Trent Williams is beyond me. He was 36, and he was at the time he was signed his contract, he was the highest paid left tackle in football. And because somebody got more money than him, he signed a 3-year, $82 million contract. They gave him a $48 million guaranteed. Like his cap hit next year is $40 million. Hold on. Let me just reiterate that to you again. His cap hit next year at 38 years old is $40 million.
That's tough.
That's why you got to get rid of some of these players.
But do you really look to pay Purdy on top of that a big amount of money?
I mean, what do? Rebuild? You got to start over if you don't pay a quarterback. Because if I'm Brock Purdy's agent, Carmike, I'm walking in the 49ers offense and being like, you pay Deebo Samuel, you paid Brandon Ayuk, you paid Christian McCaffrey, you paid Trent Williams, and here I am on the field producing every single year, making $850,000 and $923,000. I am not playing this year without an extension.
I don't think he has anything to be playing with. Who we got? Ayuk and CMC left, and George Kittle.
And Ayuk's coming off an ACL tear.
That's not good. New deal has come in. All pro DB Derek Stingley Jr. has agreed to a 3-year, $90 million extension with $89 guaranteed. Now he is the highest paid DB in the league with a base salary of $30 million a year for the Texans. This resets the DB market. How you feel about this?
They got ahead of it. It's very smart. Derek Stingley Jr. is great. You're going to be talking about Derek Stingley Jr. as part of the same class that you talk about Patrick Surtain, Sauce Gardner, and they got ahead of it. Sauce is about to get his extension.
That's bad for the Jets. That's bad.
That was smart. Give credit to Houston's front office. Derek Stingley Jr. is a lockdown corner. He's a great cornerback. And they got ahead of the extension. It's smart. I think it's very intelligent for Houston, dude. I don't care if he's the highest paid now. Think about all the corners that are going to be up for extension.
Why would you spend the money there when your quarterback was running for his life lately? CJ had a terrible year last year. His line wasn't that good. You go and pay a DB $30 million a year? Shouldn't you be fixing your offensive line?
Yeah, they should. I don't know what their plan is on their offensive line. Laramie Tunsil is now a Washington Commander. Kenyon Green is now a Philadelphia Eagle. Houston's depth chart on the offensive line is absolutely wild. But to that same respect, maybe they're replacing the guys that they had issues with last year. Even though I don't think Tunsil was a guy you had issues with, he was a guy 100% had a penalty problem. They have Laken Tomlinson, so we'll see what ends up happening there. They signed him. I think he's actually a good guard. But other than that, there's the who's who on their on their offensive line. They absolutely need to go out and get an offensive lineman this offseason.
Absolutely. let's switch over a little bit here. I want to go and talk about a little NBA. First off, Jordan Poole hits a clutch three to take down the Nuggets for an L. Why are the Wizards still out here trying to win games at this point? What was Jordan Poole trying to prove a point that he still could be a franchise player, or what's happening here? Or you think the Nuggets just was beat up from having to battle back-to-back games?
You can't tell players to go out there and lose. You can't do that. You can put a lineup out there that will lose, but you can't tell players to go out there and lose. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. So I'll give Washington credit. They've lost for years. And we talk about Jordan Poole hitting that clutch three. You know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about Alex Sarr developing into the second overall pick recently.
Wait. Do you really think he's really developing into what he's supposed to be? Or is it just circumstances of them being trash? Because I don't think anybody is taking the Wizards serious on the court at this point.
Well, you're probably right, but he had 34 points the other night. And, you know, he's improved throughout the year. Look, I'm not an Alex Sarr fan. Beginning of the year kind of did exactly what I thought it was going to do for me. And it showed me that he isn't that good. But it looks like he's getting better. It looks like he's developing. So I gotta give credit where credit's due. The Wizards are still fighting. Let me give them credit. But they're gonna have another lottery pick. They're gonna be very near the top of the lottery again. But you can't. The one thing that's the problem in Washington is you can't fix the stench of losing on your in your roster. Like you can't. It's a stench. There's a stench of losing. You have to bring in winning players. And they don't have those.
True. But I don't know. I gotta wait to see what Alex Sarr is when people are taking him serious. Like him scoring 34 points is no different than Quentin Grimes dropping 44 one night. Is it not?
No, you're absolutely correct. But Alex Sarr is a rookie, and Quentin Grimes is a guy that's been around the block. You kind of know what you're getting with Quentin Grimes. With Alex Sarr, you're still developing him.
So here we go. Lakers lose to the Nuggets 126-131. They turn around and beat the Suns 107-96 to snap their 4-game losing streak. They have been on the losing streak since LeBron has been out. They fall to the 5th seed. Are the Lakers do you really see them competing for a title? I mean, LeBron wants to get one more before he heads out.
I don't think they have the rim protection to compete for a title.
You don't think Jackson Hayes is stepping up?
I mean, stepping up is a statement, but do you think he's the rim protector that you need to be able to produce a title?
Young dude got to learn. I mean, Andrew Bynum came in and learned it, right? With Kobe.
Jackson Hayes is not Andrew Bynum.
I mean, he's not Andrew Bynum, but you got to learn at some point, don't you?
I don't think that they have the defense to be able to win in the postseason. And I love the way the Lakers look when LeBron and Luka are on the court because offensively, they're magicians. They're absolutely kicking butt. But I don't know, man. I don't think they have enough defense on the court.
They don't. Rockets are now the number 2 seed in the West. Very young talent. Do you really see them doing anything in the playoffs, or they're just having one of them magical years?
Bro, this is what good coaching does. Who would have guessed Ime Udoka would be a good coach? Oh, wait, we knew that from Boston.
True.
Like, this is what good coaching does. This is what a talented roster of young kids that can run up and down the court do for you. I think the Houston Rockets have a very athletic roster. I think they have guys that are producing on all levels. Jalen Green's finally starting to live up to somewhat of the potential that we all seen in him. And I'll give Alperen Sengun all the credit in the world because he's looked better and better. But I think that the true contributor to that team has been Amen Thompson. And I think that, you know, the fact that he's been hurt is going to hurt them. They need to get him back. Amen Thompson was playing great basketball for them, and I can't wait till they get him back from that ankle sprain.
How far do you see them going in the playoffs?
See, it depends on matchups. Matchups make fights, right? I've been, me and Mo are on the exact opposite end of the spectrum here. I think the Golden State Warriors are gonna go to the finals from the Western Conference.
The Warriors?
Yeah.
You think they're gonna go?
Yep. You watched them the other night versus the Knicks? Did you watch that game?
I watched them.
Their defense with Butler and Draymond Green on the court, and then being able to space the floor, I feel like it's very sustainable. I think they've lost one game since they've traded for Jimmy Butler. I know they're, and if they're at last 11, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5-game winning streak, then a loss. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-game winning streak. So they've won 12 of their last 13 games. It's hard for me not to see that. And the game versus the Knicks the other night, you just seen the defense on both sides of the court. I'll give the Knicks credit. OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges played great defense in that game. Now, Karl Anthony Towns let Draymond Green get in his head for a little bit, but Moses Moody stepped up. I'm a big fan of Gary Payton II. Like, I love what he brings to the Warriors. I think that
they're a big defensive team. I like they're a big defensive team.
And you still have Steph, and then playoff Jimmy. And I always say playoff Jimmy because no matter what we say about Jimmy Butler, I think that he always provides in the playoffs.
Well, yeah, because he's a two-way player. But now that Steph gets majority of the attention, I think it's easier for Jimmy to do what he does best. He ain't got to really focus on offense as much. He can focus more on the defensive side and score when needed. But
they're deep though, right? Like, how deep is Golden State? You got Draymond, Jimmy, Steph Curry, Moses Moody, Kuminga. You got Gary Payton, Buddy. I know that Mo doesn't like Buddy Hield, but Buddy Hield.
I don't like Buddy Hield either.
Sorry, you don't have to like him, but he's a player, right? You got 8-9-man rotation that you can use in the postseason. And I don't know, man. I will say this: the big stiff Santos, he can at least shoot the three and stretch the floor a little bit.
So we had a post. Brandon Jennings, you know who Brandon Jennings is, yes. Brandon Jennings said Drew Holiday was never better than me in the game of basketball. He probably has a better career, but he was never better than me. What's your opinion on this? I mean, the highest Brandon Jennings has ever averaged for the Bucks was about 19, and Drew Holiday has been a starting PG for the Sixers, New Orleans, and the highest he has averaged was 21. How do you feel about these Brandon Jennings saying that Drew is not better than him?
Brandon Jennings is an idiot. That's like saying, like, he's a moron. That's like, because he had a great bag. Brandon Jennings had a great bag. Like, he was instant offense. You know what he would have been really good in the NBA if he would have just, like, understood it? He would have played the great Jamal Crawford role. He would have played a great 6-man, come off the bench, give you some instant offense. But, like, that's not who Brandon Jennings was. His head got in the way of him. And for him to say he had a better career than Drew Holiday, I mean, maybe your offensive bag was better. That's
what he said was because Drew Holiday had a better career. He was better at the game. That's what he said.
Yeah, but what's better at the game, though? Like, help me understand what that means.
You know what it means? When you step on the court, hey, you can't guard me. You got to step to me on this court. You can't guard me. That's what better at the game is.
I follow that. I'm just reiterating to you guys, to anybody that's listening, that that's not the way you view better at basketball. I don't view that as better at basketball. If you played one-on-one, Brandon Jennings in his prime probably could beat Drew Holiday. That's not being better at basketball, though.
I mean, that's what usually typically, just like Gilbert Arenas said. He said he was better than Kobe as far as, you know, people sticking him one-on-one. Kobe had multiple moves, talking about he had to do a lot of pump fakes and all that. But he said all I had to do was 1 or 2 moves, and I was open.
Yeah, Agent Zero was the same thing, though. These guys are morons. They don't know how to play team basketball. I love No Chill Gil. He's one of my favorite players. I got his jersey in my closet. Number 0 for the Wizards. I still have his jersey. I like No Chill Gil. I like his podcast. But to say things like that is stupid. Because you go play better offensive one-on-one basketball. The only thing Brandon Jennings could argue that he was better at Drew Holiday is I play better offensive one-on-one basketball. Is he a better defender than Drew? No. Is he a better passer than Drew? No. Is he a better rebounder than Drew? No. Is he a better teammate than Drew? No. What is he better at? He might be able to play better one-on-one offensive basketball.
So for your franchise, would you take Brandon Jennings or are you sticking with Drew?
Drew, come on, man. Weirdo questions. That's weird.
Is that a biased response? Because it's your team?
Biased about it. Argue with me. Tell me Brandon Jennings was better.
I mean, Brandon Jennings, he could have been better if he had the right coaching. Dude could drop 55, 40 points. You know, I don't think he was in the right setting, but I like Drew because he's a two-way player. Brandon Jennings wasn't a two-way player. That's the only difference I see between the two. Because Drew also, he can give you buckets, but
if he was better coached, why did he play for 6 different organizations? Why did he play for the Bucks, Wizards, Knicks, Magic, Pistons? Like, why did he play for all these different teams? Why did all these teams be like, oh no, why did all these coaches just go, nah, I don't want Brandon Jennings? Why? Because he's an asshole. That's why.
Moving on, the NBA is investigating the Thunder and the Sixers for violating the player participation policy. The Thunder sat 5 starters, and the Sixers sat Paul George, who supposedly had an injury to the knee, back, and finger, and Tyrese Maxey, who also had an injury to his back and finger, but the league is still investigating this. Now, footnote is, Utah Jazz just got fined $100K for sitting Lowry.
I mean, good.
Do you feel that they should be investigating this, being late in the season?
Sure. It's happening. Whether or not you want to admit it happens or not, it's happening. Like, do you think? Let me ask you a question real quick. Do you think that if the 76ers were in the playoff race, that you would be able to? The Tyrese Maxey wouldn't be playing right now?
Tyrese will be playing.
Do you think if the 76ers were in the playoff race that Paul George wouldn't be playing right now?
Them two would be playing.
So, like, I mean, the NBA can investigate it. It's basically, for the Thunder, it's resting players. And for the 76ers, it's basically the way to tank because they don't want to lose their lottery pick. So...
But do you feel that's okay for them to sit people when they got season ticket holders and people coming in to watch SGA, Chet, your key cornerstone players, but they're sitting that night? This is why they implemented the player participation policy, right?
Oklahoma City will pay that fine and be happy to pay that fine to make sure their players are rested. Do I think it's right for the consumer? Absolutely.
$500K for 5 players? That's tough, man.
They'll pay that fine and they'll move. They'll move it. I have no doubt in my mind.
So Steph Curry has hit his 4K mark. Do you see him cracking the 5K for most 3-pointers made by the age of 40? I believe if he stayed on pace.
Repeat what you said.
Steph Curry just hit the 4K made 3-pointers. If he stays on this pace by age of 40, he can crack 5,000. Do you think he's going to make that?
I don't think he's going to play till 40. I don't think Steph Curry's got another 2.5 seasons in him. I don't. I think that if they make a run like I think they can make this year, next year might be his last.
Hey, man, you got no hope for Steph, man.
It's not against him.
He's the greatest PG of our time. So they say.
He is. What do you mean, so they say?
So
of our time?
They say he's the greatest PG. I think he's just the greatest shooter to ever be in our time.
You don't think he's I think he's the second greatest point guard ever to play the game.
Point guard, I think you need to be well-rounded. You need to be – I mean, Steph can be a facilitator, but he still is majority of the Warriors scoring.
Okay.
Like AI, he was brought in as a point guard, but he wasn't really a point guard. He was a scoring
So
2
you're
guard.
using the point guard in the sense of it. Do you think Steph Curry is a top 10 player of all time?
He's in the top 10, absolutely. But
How many other point guards, people that are listed as point guards, are in the top 10 of all time?
top 10 of all time, Magic definitely. Magic is my bet. He's the best point guard. I say Chris Paul,
He's
probably
not in
number.
the top 10 of all time.
You don't think Chris Paul? Come on, man. Chris
Top
Paul,
10 players of all time?
CP3. Well,
Bro.
no, he's top 10 players. I thought we, you switched it to point guards, but
Okay. So I'm asking
guards-
you, is Curry a top 10 NBA
Curry is
player of
top
all
10.
time?
He's generational talent, man. He
So he's
extended
top 10, right?
He extended the game, but I mean he evolutionized the game for a lot of young kids today.
So if he's top 10 of all time, how many other players that play
Just
the
Magic.
point guard position? So he's the second greatest point guard of all time.
You giving him the second?
Yeah, he's behind Magic.
Maybe.
I've released my top 10 before. I'll give it to you again, just like because I don't.
We need to see that. The people need to see that.
I got you. Michael Jordan's one. Michael Jordan's one. LeBron James is 2.
You put LeBron 2?
Yeah, 100%, no doubt in my mind. It's the arguments between Jordan and LeBron. Third for me is the one that's controversial. I have Wilt 3, Kareem 4, Kobe 5, Bird 6, Magic 7, Tim Duncan 8, Shaquille O'Neal 9, and Stephen Curry 10. And there's one name that's notoriously left off that list, and I tell people all the time, I do it intentionally. And I also the name that is absolutely off that list is Bill Russell.
Honestly, I think you should have left Wilt off too, because Wilt played in the air. He was the only 7'1" guy in the league. Like,
okay, Bill Russell was in that league, right?
Bill Russell was winning though. Wilt wasn't. Wilt got what? 1, 2?
See, this is the problem. And by the way, Bill Russell was 6'10", so let's not pretend he was playing against people he was 7 foot and they were 6'2". Like, that's not what happened. Bill Russell was 6'10". So but Wilt Chamberlain was also a world-class athlete as far as running. Like, he was a track star. He played on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. He led the league in assists. I'm almost sure Bill Russell has no seasons or his career average is less than 20 points per game.
Bro, he played with everybody else that was 4 foot or 5 foot nothing at that point.
He's never had a season where he's averaged 20 points a game and he's 6'10" in that same 4 foot nothing league that you're talking about. He never had a season in which he averaged 20 points a game, and his career average in points per game is 15.1. And he's in your mind, he's the top 10 player of all time. Why? Because the Celtics were great.
I mean, the Celtics were great, but Bill still dominated, man. Even going up against a 7'1" dude. You know what I mean?
Bro. It was a Celtics thing. They were the best team in basketball.
But let's switch it up, ladies and gentlemen. It is time. Selection Sunday has happened yesterday. We got your number 1 teams. Duke is number 1 in the East. You got Florida number 1 in the West. Auburn number 1 in the South. And Houston number 1 in the Midwest. You have 14 teams from the SEC in the tournament. 8 from the Big Ten, 7 from the Big 12. Gene, what is happening? How are we feeling about the NCAA tournament this year?
First of all, I'm fired up, but there needs to be an investigation against the people that the commissioner that basically put together the brackets this year. The athletic director of North Carolina should not have been the lead athletic director on the committee, and having North Carolina as the last bubble team to make the tournament and West Virginia not making the tournament. There needs to be an investigation about that. That's a problem. That was collusion, bro. That was absolute collusion.
I could see that, but come on. UNC without being in the
that's
March
the problem.
Madness?
You're saying UNC because the name UNC. They're 1-12 versus quad 100, quad 25 wins. 1-12. They stink this year.
They do stink this year, but What if they turn it around in March Madness, man? We
And they
know
will.
March Madness
They
is
will.
about miracles, man. A
They
lot
will.
of great things happen in March Madness. Teams you never see step up, and play big, and it's a one and done tournament. I think they maybe should go a little further with the one and done, but to give actually good teams with experience a chance to make maybe a best of 5 series, maybe. But
No,
you had to,
the bracket is the greatest thing ever made. Like it is. March Madness is the greatest basketball tournament. I don't forget the one and done. If you did 3-game series, whatever on this stuff, you would ruin these upsets. You would ruin these UMBCs as a 16 seed winning over a 1. You would ruin these miracle runs for teams like you've never heard of. Let me ask you a question real quick. Did you know Grand Canyon was a college up until 2 years ago?
I did not.
I had no idea. But then when I watched them play in the NCAA tournament, I knew who Grand Canyon was. How about Loyola Chicago with Sister Jean? How about them? Did you know they were a college 10 years ago?
I mean, it's a lot of different colleges that came up out of nowhere. I like it, but it any given night at March Madness, man, it takes the best teams out.
I'll tell you the one game to look out for in the first round, and it's the 7:35 game on Thursday. The Drake Bulldogs are going to beat Missouri. Look out for Drake. I'm all over Drake this year.
Drake, don't they play Memphis?
They play Missouri.
Missouri?
Yeah. They play Mizzou Thursday night. Mizzou's a 6.5-point favorite. I love Drake in that basketball game.
Drake, who is your sleepers coming into this year?
I mean,
Drake.
There's a lot of them, right? I think there's a lot of 12s that can be 5s. I think McNeese is a good team, but they drew a very tough Clemson team, so I think they'll end up losing early. I think Memphis, without their best player, loses to Colorado State. I think Colorado State wins that game. Memphis missing their best player is going to kill them, and it doesn't look like he's going to play for them, so that's going to kill them, right? So I think that there's a lot of teams that you could look at that are sleepers, but always look at that 12-5. Always look at that 11-6. Always look at those areas. And I think that's always the fun place to look, right? I think you always need to look at those 12-5 matchups. It'll break your bracket down. It's a lot of fun to break down. But I think this year, and I say this every year, and every year I'm wrong, but like the teams at the top, the chalk at the top, I think they'll rise to the top. I love Duke. I love Auburn. They're very
What about St. John's? Don't they got like the best third best defense in the country? So yeah, you see them going deep.
People aren't gonna like this. I don't think St. John's that good. I don't.
Defense wins games, man.
It does, but defense in their conference is different than defense versus other teams that they're gonna have to run into. I think that you gotta understand something, man. When you go through your conference tournament, you play Creighton, Marquette, and Butler. And I think that Creighton and Marquette are in the tournament, but like Seton Hall, like DePaul, like Villanova, who just fired their coach, UConn, who's on an off year. Like who are they playing? Providence, Delaware. Like these aren't teams. They're not Duke. They're not Clemson. They're not Auburn. They're not Florida. They're not playing through the SEC gauntlet. They're not Tennessee. I think St. John's is going to have a rude awakening in this tournament. I wouldn't look.
They are offensively troubled, man, but defense do produce offense if they can get out on the break with it. You know what I mean?
But listen, you have a beautiful situation that could happen. Kansas plays Arkansas in the first round, right? John Calipari is now the coach of Arkansas. Arkansas is a little sneaky team, all right? If Arkansas beats Kansas, which I think they will, because Kansas is so troubled with Bill Self. If Arkansas beats Kansas, you could get a Calipari versus Pitino in St. John's versus Arkansas, round 2. And I think Calipari out-coaches them. I think Arkansas upsets St. John's in the second round of the NCAA tournament.
How you feel about Georgia? Georgia has been having a good year, man. Mike White This is like his best team he had so far going into a tournament.
I mean,
Um,
they're
I
going
mean,
to lose in the first round, so I'm not worried about
but then
Georgia.
again, they are troubleshooting. But you think they're gonna lose first round?
Yeah, Gonzaga is going to beat them. Gonzaga is one of the only teams that's like not like that has a ton of losses. That's a Ken Palm top 21 offense and defense. They're a team that has tournament experience. They got guys on their roster that have been here, done that. Ryan Nembhard is back for what seems like his 75th year. They got a whole roster full of players that have tournament experience. I think that Gonzaga ends up winning that first game, and it's nice to see Georgia in the tournament. They're really a football school, but watching them play basketball, it's great to see.
How many of the number ones you got making it to the Final Four?
We're doing our bracket tonight on our bracket special. I'm looking at the 1s and 2s right now. It's hard for me to pick against Florida, even though Florida has a ridiculous path. They're probably going to have to go against UConn, Maryland, and then either St. John's, Kansas, Arkansas. Like, it's a very tough path. I think that Houston is a bit overranked, so I'll say no. I got Duke. Just off the top of my head, I'll take Duke, Auburn, and Florida. I'll take 3 number 1s in the Final Four.
Duke, Auburn, and Florida. Gonna be a good March Madness this year, man.
I'm really interested to see if Cooper Flagg comes back healthy, but the selection committee did Duke a lot of favors. And if you look at who they're going to go against, they're probably going to end up playing Baylor. I think Baylor beats Mississippi State, and then they'll get Arizona or Oregon. Like, I just don't see any of those teams being able to beat Duke, even if Cooper Flagg isn't 100%. And at the bottom of their bracket, I think the one team that they're going to run into that could give them a lot of problems is Mark Sears and that Alabama team. I love me some Mark Sears. You're talking about tournament experience. You're talking about a big game player. I love Mark Sears.
How far you see Houston going?
Let me give you a quick. Where's you? See, I haven't went Houston. Let's see. They'll beat them.
They're number 1.
No, I know. I'm just trying to see where I can see them tripping up. I think Clemson can give them a lot of problems. Clemson has a lot of length. They're very physical. And if they can get into a battle with Houston, I can see Clemson giving them issues. But ultimately, I could see Tennessee beating them. Zakai Ziegler is, once again, when you look at these tournaments, you see guards that are experienced in running point guards that understand how to break the press and that understand how to lead their team are so important in March Madness. Mm-hmm. So I could see Tennessee beating them. I could see Clemson beating them. But I'll ultimately go with Tennessee over them.
Sleeper Yale?
It's funny you say that. Yale has some shooters on them. They could be a sleeper. Who do they play round 1? I didn't really get a chance to see the whole thing yet.
I believe they play Oregon.
Oh, they play Texas A&M. They're losing
Texas.
Early. Texas A&M is going to wax them.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't listen. Everybody loves Yale.
Yale's not a bad team, man. I see them. They could possibly pull an upset with them shooters, man.
I mean, they could. The thing you got to look at is Texas A&M is absolutely suffocating defensively. And I think that you'll see them really break down that Yale team with athleticism. I think you'll see a lot of fast breaks. I think you'll see a lot of, like, Texas A&M is one of those teams they're going to slow you down.
Let's talk a little bit about the females brackets, man. How are you feeling for the females? We don't want to leave the females out on this. Is there March Madness too?
We can talk a lot more. I mean, we're up against it now.
Yeah, I see.
But
we're winding down.
We'll talk about it a little bit more tomorrow. But I love USC with my girl Juju Watkins. You got Paige Buckets from UConn. I'm always going to roll with Dawn Staley in South Carolina. Notre Dame's got 2 lottery picks, 2 top 5 picks on their roster.
You don't see UConn stepping up again, man?
What'd you say?
UConn, you don't see them stepping up again? They've been out.
Paige Buckets. I think Paige Beckers takes them far. I think the funny thing about the women's, the top 8 teams almost always make the Elite 8. Or at least 7 of the 8 teams always make the Elite 8.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is our time. I appreciate you coming into the podcast today. It's a lot on the docket. We're going to continue talking about it. We ain't want to leave the ladies out. I was trying to squeeze them in because they deserve some respect too. There's some ballers out there. The NFL genius. Appreciate you coming through, sir.
Absolutely.
Carmike, you close us out, boss.
So just want to thank everybody for tuning in to Coffee and Sports and making us part of your morning journey. I also want to remind everybody the Wire to Wire March Madness bracket on the bottom, $20 a bracket, up to $1,000 first prize. Please make sure you check us out. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate all the love in the chat. Cameron, Jory, everybody in the chat. Appreciate you. Bertani, thank you so much. And, we'll be back at it same bat time tomorrow.